Welcome to Screw the Commute, the entrepreneurial podcast dedicated to getting you out of the car and into the money. With your host, lifelong entrepreneur and multimillionaire, Tom Antion.
Hey everybody, it's Tom here with episode 415 of Screw the Commute podcast. We're going to talk about cell phone automation. Now, I happen to be on an iPhone, but you can get similar functions on Androids, and I'll be mentioning some of them, some of the favorite places that for Android users. But the idea is you get the idea of what you need to do, and I have links for iPhones in here, but then you Android users go just search for that function, and somebody will on YouTube will, of course, show you how to do it, but it's really, really worth it. Now, you probably want to go back and listen to episode 367. In fact, I can't demand it, but I think you really should, because I covered this topic initially then with a bunch of apps that you can use. This episode is going to give you a bunch of new and different stuff that you can do with no apps. This is just inherent in your cell phone. And I'll give you a few reminders of what not to do. All right, so you don't mess up your phone. Now, I hardly ever tell people you really, 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 really need to go to the show notes for this episode. If you're listening in the car or whatever, you're never going to be able to do this stuff, right? All right. So you need to go to the show notes. I'm telling you, it's going to be so worth it to you. Print out the show notes, pick out the ideas that you heard on this episode, and I have links to the exact instructions and screen captures on how to do it. Now, to get to the show notes, you always go to screwthecommute.com and then the episode number. So screwthecommute.com/415 is what you're going to want to do. All right. Hope you didn't miss episode 414. That was Kellen Fisher. The pandemic really turned her life around for the good. And instead of whining and woe is me, she started a new business that's gone international. And guess what? She works from her closet. So don't tell me you can't do this. Now, how would you like to hear your own voice here on Screw the Commute? Well, if the show's helped you out at all in your business or given you ideas to help you start a business, we want to hear about it. Visit screwthecommute.com and look for a little blue sidebar that says send a voicemail. Click on it, talk into your phone or computer, tell me how the show's helped you, and hey, put your website in there so you can get a big shout out on a future episode of Screw the Commute. Make sure you pick up a copy of our automation ebook too at screwthecommute.com/automate free. And this whole episode is about automation. So get that darn book. If you've been listening for a while and haven't bothered to download it, what are you thinking? This has allowed me to handle 150,000 subscribers and 40,000 customers without pulling my hair out. Go grab it. We charge $27 for this, but you're getting it free for listening to the show. So screwthecommute.com/automate free. screwthecommute.com/automate free. And also grab a copy of our podcast app at screwthecommute.com/app. That's APP. And we've got screen captures and videos to show you how to use the thing so you can take us with you on the road. Now, I preach this like crazy, that you need skills in today's workforce that are usable and people want to pay you for them. And that's what my school is all about. It's imtcva.org. It's the only licensed, dedicated internet marketing school in the country, probably the world. And you can actually get a scholarship to that if you're in my mentor program, which I'll tell you about a little later. But this school teaches skills that are needed by every business on earth in the workforce. I've been teaching this for 23 years, been selling on the commercial internet since it started 27 years ago, and just living a beautiful lifestyle. The pandemic hasn't affected me or my students, so you got to get these kinds of skills, and it's one of the best legacy gifts you could ever give to a grandchild or a nephew or niece or even your own kids. That way they won't come home and live with you because they're going to have their own money. So check that out, and we'll tell you a little bit about the mentor program later. All right, let's get into the main event. And before we get there, I got a big warning for you. Don't mess up your cell phone with some of these apps that you can get. They can mess up your cell phone and your operating system. So just be very careful if you're going to do apps. But the stuff I'm going to talk about today requires no apps. It's inherent in your phone, and it's getting better all the time. But I don't want to discourage you from doing this, but just be careful with any automation apps and make sure they have really good reviews and they don't mess up your phone. But again, that won't apply to today because we're not even talking about any apps today. Or the apps that we're talking about are inherent or native to your phone, so they work. So all this stuff I'm going to talk about today makes you highly efficient and can save you enormous amounts of time and improve your productivity. And right now, I'm just going to give you a taste of the important automation things you can do without even using any third-party apps. But I still want you to listen to episode 367. That covered a bunch of things I'm not going to repeat here. I mean, wild things these automation apps can do just with the phone that's in your hand every day, all day long anyway. So you got to pick the ones and the best features to the things that you want to do and then implement them. I even have a method to do that so that it doesn't take a lot of time out of your day, but you can own these things and just become lightning fast. What I want you to do is to realize you have this thing with you all day, all right, this phone, and it will do a gazillion things that you'll never figure out, never need to know. But you do need to identify the things you do all the time and take a little time to automate them. This is going to save you countless hours in the future. And many things your phone will do, you may not even realize. And that's why I'm going to give you a bunch of them today that you might not have thought of so that you can add these to your knowledge base. Now, here's my method of improvement. And plus, let me say again why you should bother to do this. The time you spend fooling around with your computer and your cell phone could be spent creating stuff that brings in money. I mean, there's only so much psychic energy in a day. I mean, if you blow it all fighting with your phone and computer, there's none left over to make money. All right, so anyway, here's my method that over time will make you lightning fast with your cell phone. So I'm suggesting you take one or two of these tips, study them, and force yourself to use them all day long for 3 days straight. If you do that, you'll own that technique and save enormous amount of time into the future. And one more time, I got to tell you, go back and listen to episode 367. You're going to thank me for it. All right, here's the deal. It's highly worth it to take a little time to automate repetitive tasks. The excuse I hear all the time is, I just can't figure it out, or I don't have time. Those don't fly anymore. I mean, there are piles and piles of instructions on YouTube, or you could wake a young kid up from their nap at preschool to help you. All right. So, I mean, nobody's busier than me. And part of my success is using automation to help me take care of customers faster and reduce my extremely busy workload to give me the time to take care of customers. And that's where the money comes. I hate to be so obvious here, but you're doing all the busy work and then the customers are sitting there, well, maybe I'll go give somebody else money because you don't take care of me fast enough. See, I see so many people, this is kind of lecture time here, who refuse to take the time to work on some automation because they say they don't have time. This is the craziest. You see how ridiculous that statement is? You won't take a couple hours now to save hundreds of hours in the future. Right? It's no wonder you think you don't have time to work on automation techniques. That's just crazy talk. So make sure you download that automation ebook I give you for listening to the podcast. Some of you have listened to hundreds of episodes and never bothered to download and implement that book. Well, that's crazy too. I'm giving it to you on a silver platter. So go to screwthecommute.com/automate free. and just pick one thing and implement it. And I guarantee you'll thank me, and then you'll want to implement something else and something else. I mean, we did actually figure it out. You've heard me say this before. Just one of the tips in the book, I think it cost $20 one time, and it saved me 7.5 million keystrokes as of like 2 years ago. so I don't know what's wrong with you if you don't go get that book and use it. Okay, so where do I get a bunch of the stuff that I learn on this iPhone thing? Well, iPhoneLife.com, I have a free email subscription, and every day they send me a really quick tip, and then once a week they recap all the tips. So I don't look at it every day. I'm busy, but once a week I look at the recap for the week and say, oh, and they might have like 5 different things there, right? I'll see like, oh my God, nothing this week. All right, goodbye. Next week, I look at it. Oh my goodness, look at that. I'm going to do that one. And I kill myself to learn that one technique and use it like crazy for 3 days, and then I own it. See? And it takes almost no time, but I keep getting faster and faster and faster with my cell phone. All right, so let's get into some of them. One thing you can do is turn on your iCloud Keychain. Now, if you do a lot of, buying stuff online, this stores and keeps your credit card information, your Wi-Fi network stuff, your usernames and passwords. Now, yes, I use RoboForm, but this is, again, that's an external app. This episode is concentrating on internal stuff that you can use right away. And, it's got contacts and your calendar, all the stuff that Apple does. It keeps track of it for you. And every tip I give you, I'm not going to give you the whole thing. It would take 10 episodes to teach you this stuff. So I include a link in the show notes. That's why I tell you go to the show notes for this episode for sure, with a link that gives you exact instructions. It shows you a picture of your iPhone and shows you where to click right down to do all these things. That iPhone Life is really great. And there's a couple other places I go to, but that's the main one. All right, and you can, the same instructions will tell you how to add and edit credit card information for it. I put 2 credit cards in because I try to use Amex all the time, but some places don't take Amex. So then I have a 1 Visa card in there too. So it just makes things so fast, especially with my fat fingers trying to type stuff in. And while we're at it, I'll talk about, people were, worried really bad about security and identity theft and everything. Yeah, you can worry all you want. That's not going to change things. All right. People are going to get you or they're not going to get you. You have to be careful. But trust me, Apple is not going to want to be liable for, screwing up and having your identity theft. They really are careful with security and things, as are most places, but things do happen. But you can't live your life worrying about that stuff. Yeah. And there's plenty of horror stories on identity theft, but compared to the gazillions of people that are using this stuff every day to make themselves go faster and make more money and all that, I don't worry about it too much. Be careful, but don't protect everything you got with a machine gun nest, or I'll take all the money. Okay, so don't do that. Okay, so let's get into some miscellaneous tips here. This first one has to do with photos. I'll tell you what. So did you ever want to show somebody a photo and it took you 5 minutes to scroll through thousands you have on your phone? All right. Well, learn to use albums. This way you can put similar things into albums, and they can be in more than one album. That's something people worry about. Well, what if it should be in a couple albums? Awesome. Put it in a couple albums. And one thing you should know, if something, a photo or a video is in more than one album, it doesn't take up any more space on your phone. You're not making duplicates. You're just linking to the main file from an album so that you can find it easier. And I'm going to even tell you more stuff about finding things that is really great. Now, let's say you travel a lot and you want to find photos from different locations that you were at really fast. Well, if you have your location services turned on, and you can pull up all the photos taken from a map of where you were. So let's say I'm on the East Coast. Let's say I was at an event in California. And so I can literally search for, on a map from California, photos taken, and even with certain date ranges. So very crazy you can do this stuff. And like I said, I have links to exactly how to do all this stuff in here. Now you can add filters. Now I'm not talking about theatrical filters to make your photo look different. I'm talking about filters that you say, okay, this is a favorite photo. Let's say, here's an example. I have my goddaughter, and she had this little bubble machine. She was, 11, 12 months old, something like that. And she's sitting on the ground, and these bubbles are going around her, and she's grabbing for them. Well, I took a couple hundred pictures to find just that perfect one where you can see her cute little face, and she's reaching for a bubble, and the bubbles are just surrounding her perfectly. So there's hundreds of pictures I took, all right? So I can mark the best one as a favorite, especially since, on the phone, there are little thumbnails of it. So I can mark that as a favorite, I can search for goddaughter, bubbles, favorite. And there, boom, I can find the exact photo like in no time flat. And I should go back and delete a lot of the other ones, but she's just so darn cute. It's hard to get rid of all of them. But that's the kind of things you can do now. And also you can put captions on photos now, which is a new thing. So I'll tell you quickly how to do that on an iPhone. You pull a photo up, swipe up on the photo, and there'll be a little thing that says caption. So all you have to do is, like I had some football pictures that are really old from college that I used on an Instagram for Throwback Thursday. And it took me forever to find them. So now I captioned them and just said football. I mean, that's all I got is a few football things on amongst 10,000 photos on my phone. And now I can just say, hey, Siri, find football photos. Boom. It picks instantly. Those two photos are right there for my use. So captions are great. And again, you just scroll or open the photo you want and swipe up, and then you put the caption in below. And I started doing, I only learned this recently. So now I'm starting to do it, and things are getting faster and faster and faster for me to find the photos that I want. That applies to videos too, by the way. Now, here's something you might want to do is learn to use your hide photos function. So let's say you're getting a surprise gift for your significant other and you don't want them seeing it when you're scrolling through your pictures. Well, you use the hide photo function. And, maybe you have other uses for this, that's wink, wink, that you don't want photos to be seen. And so very easy to put them in a hidden album, and very easy. And I have the link right there that shows you exactly how to do it. Do it all day long, or go through your photos and practice with it, and boom, you own that thing. Okay, so there's some stuff on photos that people are dealing with all day, every day, and you can really, really make yourself go way faster. And then you can, like I said, you search with Siri for photos. So I could say, Siri, search for photos of my goddaughter from 2019. And boom, all the photos from little Ileana.
You'll need to unlock your iPhone first.
I said, hey, Siri. And she answered me, which brings up another thing for you. I'm sitting here doing this podcast, and I wasn't thinking, because I said, hey, Siri, and she answered because she was listening. But if I had my phone turned upside down, I wonder if you even knew this, she wouldn't have responded to Hey Siri. And speaking of that, you can make the phone respond to Hey Siri by audio or holding the side button in, or both. But if you don't want her to respond to Hey Siri, let's say you're in a meeting and lots of people have iPhones and they're searching for stuff, and you don't need to do a search. Well, you keep your phone upside down on the table, and it won't respond to when everybody else is screaming, Hey Siri. Did you know that? Okay. So that's what I messed up here. I wasn't thinking and I left it face up instead of face down. So there's one I was going to tell you about a little bit later. Okay. All right, so let's get into some other miscellaneous stuff. There are ways to greatly increase the battery life on your AirPods. And I have a link to it there in the show notes. Shows you exactly the things to do to increase the battery life, sometimes double, on your AirPods. All right. Like I said, this is going to be a bunch of miscellaneous stuff. Now, if you're sending an iPhone to iPhone text message, you can send an audio message by holding down. There's a little audio symbol on the where you type in your message. You hold that down, and you can make an audio message, and guess what? It disappears after 2 minutes. All right, so you can keep it permanently by clicking a button. But again, in the show notes are the links to how to do that. Now, again, when I say it's in the show notes, yeah, there's some, these are my favorite instructions because they're so clear. But a lot of you like to search on YouTube for the same kinds of things. I guarantee you, everything I'm talking about, somebody has made a YouTube video about. But if you just like looking at the screen and you don't want to watch through a whole video, boom, one step at a time at iPhone Life, they just show you a picture of the screen, where to click. And then the next picture of the screen, where to click. Makes it so easy to learn this stuff. So anyway, you can send it, and if you're sending iPhone to iPhone text message, you can send it by audio. Another thing you can do is change the sort order of your contacts. Instead of first name, last name, it can be last name, first name. A simple thing, it might suit you better. I got a link there for you. Now, if you're having trouble seeing your screen, there's all kinds of zoom and magnifier functions in your accessibility section. So you go to like settings, accessibility, or settings, general accessibility. I can't remember which one, but you can make the text bigger on your screen very easily. A lot of you are squinting and just forcing yourself to try to see stuff. There's no reason for it. You can make the text, you can make it all bigger. Of course, less stuff shows up on the screen, but it's still way better than trying to stick your phone, your face right in your phone to read anything. Now, the coolest one I found recently is the magnifying glass. It's like having a magnifying glass in your hand. I'm no spring chicken. I can't tell you how many times I wish I had a magnifying glass. Well, I did, but I didn't know it. So if I got it set up now, so if I just triple click my side button, my phone turns into a magnifying glass, and the camera turns on automatically, and then there's a little slider to zoom into like super high magnification. Wow, it's so great now to have that handy, and I used it all day for a couple days, and boom, now I own that thing and instead of wishing I could see something. I'm working on my lawnmower, and I'm supposed to get the serial number off it to get a part. Oh my God, that was such a nightmare. Now, boom, you can do it right with my cell phone. All right. Now, did you ever close a Safari tab on your phone and wish you could get it back? Or maybe your kid's playing with the phone and they closed your one of your tabs? So here's how you do it. Very simple. Open Safari, click on the Pages tab at the bottom right, and then hold down the plus sign as if you were trying to open a new tab. If you hold down the plus sign, all your recently closed tabs appear like magic. I mean, who would have thought to do that, right? There it is. So these are the kinds of things that are out there that can, instead of having to do a new search and look for everything forever, there you go. You can just hold the plus sign down and all your closed things come up. Let's see. Yeah, I told you can get Siri to respond to a voice or a button. I told you that already. Turn the face down if you don't want it to respond. Now, here's one I just used the other day. I have been a big proponent of screen capture video for over now 21 years. I've used it to make millions of dollars. I use Camtasia, which is the gold standard for screen capture. So it'll capture anything I can display on my computer screen, and I can narrate over it. And so I do all kinds of stuff with it. I mean, just can't blow it up enough. It's been so great over so many years for so many things. So a few years ago, you could to do it on your cell phone. You know how people were doing tutorials and showing the cell phone? Well, in the early days, and I mean, I can still do this if I wanted. I have an app, I forget what it's called, Squirrel or something, and it Bluetooths my screen of my phone to my computer, and then I have Camtasia running to capture it. Then I've got to edit it and then export it and jump through these million hoops. All right. Well, guess what? You can do it right in the cell phone nowadays. So it has screen capture right in the cell phone. And I put a link in the show notes of some instructions I needed to send to some of my students, so they could watch my reels. Reels are like TikTok on Instagram. Because trying to tell people this where to click and what little icon is like tiny, where to do it, how to find it was crazy. So I just did a screen capture of it and then sent it up to YouTube. And so you can see it. I have it in the show notes. It's only, I don't know, a minute long or something, but now nobody had to call me I think I had to send it to 40 or 50 students, and nobody called me on how to do it. They all could easily see it right there off the screen capture off of the cell phone. And speaking of screenshots, prior to the video screenshots where they're capturing all the moves on your screen, standard screenshots, you had to push 2 buttons at one time. Well, that was great. At least you could do it. But sometimes that's a hassle if you're trying to work in the kitchen with recipes, or you're working on your car and your hands are a little greasy and you don't want to, be trying to find 2 buttons to push at one time. All you have to do now is say, "Hey, Siri, take a screen capture." And boom, you get the screen capture. And it goes right into your camera roll. So try that a few times. All right, another thing is bookmarks. Bookmarks are fairly easy on a computer. We use them and so forth to get back to certain web pages, but you need to start using them on your cell phone so that you don't have to do searches to get back to certain web pages. And everything is, no matter how fast you are, everything is slower trying to type on that little keyboard. I know some of the people out there, these young people, are like lightning fast at it. I get it. But for most of us, we aren't. And if you got fat fingers, all those things can affect it. So just learn to use your bookmarks on your when you go to a web page if you really like it. Okay, and learn to use your AirDrop. If you're all Mac or stuff, you can AirDrop your files from an iPhone to a Mac or an iMac or something. And certainly you can do it with Dropbox, and you can email it to yourself and things like that, or you use WeTransfer. But AirDrop, if you have compatible stuff, is the fastest. There you go. Now, here's a cool one. Oh, my goodness. Now, for this one to work, you have to have what's called predictive text turned on. I think that might be on by default, where it thinks it knows what you're going to type. So all you just hit the space bar and it pops in. That's nice. And location services. So it knows where your cell phone is. Let's say you want to tell somebody where you are. You just start typing "I'm at," and then a box will pop up and says, "Do you current location?" If you just click on current location, it sends a map to exactly where you are to whoever you're texting. Okay, can you imagine that? And this is a great thing. Let's say you want to go hiking, but nobody will go with you. Well, that's a dangerous thing. So you want to tell people where you're planning on going, but on the trail you could do "I'm at current location." It'll send them a map of exactly where you are. Isn't that crazy? What if you're doing real estate open houses and you're there by yourself? Well, that's a dangerous place to be. So if you happen to get people know where you are, what house you're showing, and so forth, and where exactly it is. What if you're out running, and you start seeing, there's some people out here that are a little bit shady. You could tell people exactly where you are. So anyway, that's the I'm at function. Let's see. A lot of times, here's another thing. I can't find, I got 5 or 6 screens of apps. Even some of them are in their own folders and everything, but there's just tons of them, and I can't find an app. Well, all you have to do is swipe right on your main home screen and then search for it. And just the name of the app, you put it in, and boom, it'll come right up. So I was so happy to find that one because I'd be searching for an app that I hadn't used much. Let's see. Here's a kind of an interesting thing. If you want to draw on some of your photos or in notes and you want to make a perfect shape, this is just an oddball one that you may not want to use because, using a handwritten like a heart or something looks, kind of neat. But I found out if you hold your finger down when you're doing a drawing thing, it'll make a perfect heart. Or if you did a circle, if you hold your finger on it, it'll make a perfect circle. If you did a box, hold your finger, it'll make a perfect box. I mean, it's just all these little things. And I have occasion to use that once in a while. And now that I know I can do it, boom, there it is. Because my handwriting and my, scribbling on the screen is not that great. And got the instructions for it right here for you. Now, how about, did you ever set up Find My iPhone? Even if the battery is dead, how you can find your iPhone? I got a link there for you. So this is if you're losing it all the time, it drops somewhere and the battery goes dead, you can still find your iPhone or iPad. When I say iPhone, I mean iPhone or iPad, and the instructions are right there. Now, here's another one I'll bet you never knew. Let's say, like I just said, I have 5 app home screens. When you get to the last one, if you continue swiping, you run into what's called your app library. And it's another way where the phone has automatically grouped your apps as best as it could into folders. So it's another way to find your apps. Swipe past your last home screen and you'll see that. Now, here's one. Oh man, this is a great one. I get texts from enormous numbers of people, but there's some people that I want to be able to text really quick, like Jennifer, the bookkeeper, and Mark, the video guy, and Larry and Travis and so forth that work here. So instead of scrolling through all these texts to get to the one where we had some thread going, or going to my favorites and going into their record and or my contacts, and going into their record and then hitting the thing. No, you can put up to 9 of your regular people that you text all the time right at the top of your text app on your phone. So really, really, really great. So all you have to do this, I'll just go tell you this one, is you just take any message that they've sent you, press and hold it, and then tap the word pin. And it pins their whole thing or their thread to the top. And now there's a circle up there with their name on it. You can just instantly get to their text threads. And then you can do up to 9 of them up there. So I'm telling you, there's just all this stuff, folks. If you just take the time to do it, it would save you hundreds of hours. And there's another one that you might want to do or not do. See, I get so darn many robocalls. It kind of, it's upsetting. But I'm also in business and I don't want to miss a good call. And I could get a good call from somebody that's not in my contacts. So you can make it so your phone is silenced for unknown callers. Well, the thing is that, if it's just driving you crazy, go ahead and do it. But if somebody is supposed to call me, let's say the pest control company or the termite people had to call me last week. Well, I don't really need, once a year I hear from these people. I don't really have them in my contact database or anything. So their phone call would come in and I wouldn't recognize it, so I wouldn't answer it. If I had the silence just so it wouldn't bother me, I would miss the call from the pest control people, and then I'd have to go to the voicemail and listen to it and call them back. And so you have to decide, do you want to just cut out anybody to call you that's not in your database or in your contact list or not? That's up to you. After thinking about this, I left it on, and I just have to put up with the robocalls because I don't answer them anyway. But, I don't want to have to turn this thing on and off and miss a call from somebody I want to talk to. So that's that. So I'm going to tell you a little bit about my mentor program, and then I'm going to give you the sites for Android. About 23 years ago, I kind of turned the internet marketing guru world on its head, and that people at my level were charging 50 or 100 grand to teach you how to do this stuff. And a lot of them are ripoffs. You give them that kind of money, they would never even do it, or they weren't even capable of doing it, and they're just trying to take your money. So I said, that's not really fair. I gotta do something about this. So I just charged an entry fee. And then for me to get my big money, you had to make way bigger money. So for me to get my 50 grand, you had to make 200 grand net. And so people loved this. And 1,700 plus students later, it's still going strong after 23 years. So it's the longest running, most unique, most successful mentor program in the field of internet and digital marketing ever. And I triple dog dare people to put their programs up against mine, and nobody will do it because they can't hold a candle to the stuff that we do for you. So you have an immersion weekend at the Retreat Center here in Virginia Beach. We shoot videos of you in our TV studio. Of course, this is when the pandemic lightens up. And all our training is one-on-one. We don't lump you in with people more advanced or less advanced, so it's extremely efficient. You have unlimited access to us by appointments, and you know that we have a vested interest in your success. We don't hide from you. We pick up the phone because we don't get our big money unless you make big money. See? So you don't have to worry about us, the service you get from us. And then you do get a scholarship to the school. You can either use yourself or gift to somebody. And we've had people making lots of money before they even graduated. So, and saving lots of money too, because if you're already in business and paying through the nose for professional firms to handle a lot of this stuff that should cost, literally 100 times less than what you're paying, then you really need to pay attention to the mentor program and the school. So the mentor program, you can check it out at greatinternetmarketingtraining.com, greatinternetmarketingtraining.com. And you can apply for a complimentary strategy session for you. I don't do it with everybody. If there's no chance of us working together, there's no pressure to work with me, but if there's no chance at all, then it doesn't make sense for either one of us. So you can check that out if you visit my Instagram, Antion and Associates. Click through my bio. There's a big link tree there of just look for strategy session. All right, so that's it. Get out and check out your cell phone and start using these techniques, even other ones. There's loads more than this. But if you get involved in this and starting to see how fast you're moving with your cell phone, boy, I think you're going to thank me for it. So check it out. Also, grab the automation ebook, screwthecommute.com/automate free, and make sure you get the show notes. Like I said, I don't push this hard on every episode. This is like one of the really, really important ones because I got all these links directly to how to do this stuff. For Android folks, I have 3 links in there. One is an article from PC Magazine with like a whole bunch of tips and tricks. But there's 2 places. One is called AndroidAuthority.com, and the other is AndroidPolice.com. They both have enormous numbers of tips, just like I was giving you for the iPhone today. All right, everybody. We'll catch y'all on the next episode, which you will be able to find faster because